Hello, my name is Logan Shaw. Welcome to the story. Today's historical world for context is non rights.
Hey!
Huh? Well, I was just thinking, we have these black screens, new editing way of editing. I think we should just do this more often. Yeah, we should do this more often. But in the likely event that we can't do this more often, what would you suggest? Maybe a little bit more protege, more fanciness, more cover up, if you know what I mean. Oh, like a cover up, like a, I don't know, like a press kind of thing. Yeah, we should have more people to cover stories and cover things like that on the outside of where we live. We live in Howell, Michigan. There's nothing to do out here. Yeah, but there's stuff to do in Bright, Michigan. And I guess there's stuff to do in downtown Howell, huh? Yeah, I mean, there's not just Disney we could hold accountable to. Yeah, but here's the thing. Holding Disney accountable for something that we can't control is the reason why we're bouncing back from screen to screen. Yeah, but our imagination is not the only thing that could actually rule the day. That's what we can know and what we do as a channel, as Logan's Story. Yeah, but there's a lot more to it than that. What do you mean? I mean, we could just keep going with a story that leads up to us making something bigger and better than ever before, rather than just talking about Disney rides. As soon as this ride adjunct is over. Now, that being said, we have to keep this ball running. Therefore, our next historical world for context Disneyland rides, Roger Rabbit Cartoon Spin. Yeah, let's get into it. Hello, my name is Leapfrog. I'm welcome to Logan's Story. Thanks for coming. Let's get into it.
Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin is a dark ride located in the Disneyland and Tokyo Disneyland theme parks based on the 1988 Touchstone Emblem film Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Both versions of the attraction are located in Mickey's Toontown. The Disneyland version opened on January 26, 1994.
There's a notion carried when you talk about craziness and the life that we live in. It's almost like a cartoon. Sometimes it can be like a cartoon. What do you think? Yeah, I mean, it can be like a cartoon nonetheless, but the meaning of everything that comes through as the notion carried through the ride ends up being something spectacular and more prevalent than we know now today. Then what's the use of talking about this ride if you're asking someone what you think the ride is about? Well, here's the thing. In our world, we have a lot of things that happen. Our world's spinning around on a notion that's too fast and too out of control. But doesn't that mean we're too out of control? Yeah, but the thing is, when you think about everything that comes into play about certain things, it's nonetheless greater than what we can see we can do as the notion carried throughout the impossibleness that is, well, in comparison to the world in Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin. Have you seen the movie Roger Rabbit? Yeah, of course. Well, here's the thing. Roger Rabbit is a ride that dissembles and assembles and dismembers the idea of life in itself. Really? How? Well, the thing is, Roger Rabbit is a ride that goes in goal for what things are to be in terms of the comparison of the world. A lot of cartoons and animations are in comparison to what we see in the world. They're just different. Different how? Well, if you think about it, it's different than things that we keep in sight of what it means to be part of this Mother Earth that we live on. And what the people of all kinds are doing to it, or are not doing to it. Yeah, I guess that's true, but what's deeper? What can we do for this deeper dive into what we know now as, well, the craziness that is Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin? Well, let's go into detail. See, the thing is, when you think about this ride, there's a certain sense of direction that goes through even in the crazy times of life. And that in itself is nonetheless something that we can carry over into the big sense of what life, the big picture is in life. See, if animation is something that we can look towards as beauty, then we can look towards ourselves as beauty as well. Right, and that would limitlessly tell us who we are as adjunct to the people that are living in the world around us, and people that are surrounded by a bunch of things known as cartoons and animation. And Disney animation does that. It brings you out of the world into a new world, facing the problems you may face on a daily basis. Pixar does this really well too. And that being the case, what could be the greatest thing that we could take away from something like this? You know what I mean? Like, well, what could be something that we can all realize that is perpetual in the saving grace of, well, Roger Rabbit? Here's the thing. At the end goal, Roger Rabbit is something that we can all look to as a bonkers way of society. If cartoons and people lived together, what would it be like? What would it truthfully and honestly be like? It'd be bonkers. It'd be crazy. It'd be something new every day. But if the cartoon world and the people world could live together in harmony, then I think people in this everyday world can live in harmony too. Despite who the leader is, despite who our leaders are. And with that being said, application of course. In the case set in stone of what we know now as the probable intuit things that we know now on the earth, as well as in the animation world, what's the definite cause for all of this? What's the definite cause for you and I? What can we go to this definite cause? And how can we make sure that we live in harmony because of it? Well, here's the thing. When you live in a world where it's always go, never stopping, never really sitting down and relaxing, it becomes a little hard for people to kind of live as one and live as one truly. And that will be something that is nonetheless certainly, in terms of a certain depth that we carry a lot of things into what we believe in. And that being said, it's nonetheless than this. And here's what you should take away. The meaning of life is something that is more bonkers than we could possibly imagine. And the meaning of life doesn't necessarily mean we're living a life that's not already bonkers and not already manageable like God said it would be. See, the struggles and things that we go through in life are only struggles and things that we can suffice in life. And we're not given something what we can't handle. And so what I think Roger Rabbit's trying to do is relay the message that there's a lot more to it than this. And even though it's bonkers, there's more suggestible things that can come across as doing such a thing in terms of that light. So make sure you live your life the way it is. Thank you for my application. Let's close out. Thank you for following the story. Thank you for the historical world of contact Disneyland rides. There are more rides in the future, so keep an eye out for those. Also, the mission is 1,000 subscribers. You guys let me get there by hitting the share, like, and subscribe button right on the screen. Also, by hitting that bell. Leave a comment if you can too. Follow on Patreon if you can, or at least consider viewing it. Thank you again, guys, and peace.